In this video, I'm going to be converting a PostCSS codebase over to Sass, and I'm ending the Gulp file that drives that so that when I click save on a Sass file, it converts out to CSS. This channel's currently equal part product reviews and keyboard stuff, and the other half being web development. So if either of those things are interesting to you, please like, subscribe, tell your auntie, get a tattoo, all that good stuff. I was an early adopter of Sass, so much so that back in 2013 I even wrote a book on the subject. Since then I got into PostCSS and I've used that from then till this last week really. But I decided I wanted to have another look at Sass and see what had changed in the language. And I also like the idea that there was less dev dependencies when it came to setting up new build tools and the like. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to change my personal website, which is benframe.com, which is a WordPress site. I'm going to swap the CSS in that over from PostCSS, which to be honest is a very Sass-like syntax that I write anyway, but I'm going to switch that over to real Sass and then wire up Sass and do things like swapping the mixins back over. I know that Sass has got a different way of doing variables slightly now than when I used to use it. I've got colour functions in there that are using a PostCSS colour function transform, which are not like the spec and they're not like Sass, so I need to look at those. And then I also need to look at the Gulp file that builds it all out as well and amend that so that it's using Dart Sass to do the compile from Sass. From Sass to CSS. So let's go take a look at that now. So it may seem a bit obvious, but probably the first thing I'm going to want to do is install Sass. So I'm going to do it. I'm on a Mac here, so I'm going to go to install, and I know there's a homebrew option here, which I've already done, but for the sake of completeness, I'd copy that, nip across to Sublime, and then I would just paste that in. Importantly, I've installed the Dart version of Sass there, which is the one that runs on Dart, obviously, rather than the Node Sass version. And I wanted that in particular because the Node one can be a little bit slower, and the canonical version of Sass these days is the Dart version, not libsass or Node Sass. So that's now installed. You can see here that this is the CSS structure. This is all the stuff I've got in my WordPress site, which at the minute it's very Sass-like syntax. You can see here that I've got nested media queries, and I've got using the parent selector here for nested stuff. I've got color functions here that don't exist in normal CSS, but the file extensions themselves are CSS, which is not going to work as I would like in Sass. I particularly want them to be SCSS files because I get all the nice syntax highlighted and all that sort of stuff. We're going to have to rename all those files to SCSS. We then, if we hadn't already, these are all partial files, which you can tell by the underscore before the file name. That's already done. I'd already stuck to that convention from years and years ago, and so that part is done. I've got one mixin, which is written with the PostCSS mixins. I can't remember what that one's called. Yeah, PostCSS mixins. So it's written in that syntax. I'm going to have to rejig that slightly to match whatever syntax Sass needs. And I've then got things like these non-standard color functions that again are using a PostCSS plugin at the minute, which is the PostCSS color function, and I'm going to have to rewrite those to match. Sass has got its own color adjustments going on here, which I need to just read up on those and see how I get the equivalent of what I've got over here written in Sass. Looks like color.adjust, probably quite similar. The other thing is I've got a bunch of variables that I'm using here, which in the past I've used this PostCSS simple vars, and I want to use obviously the same kind of variables in Sass, which luckily my variables file is exactly the same syntax as Sass. But what I will need to do is that in Sass now you use this. It's a bit like you would use JavaScript modules and do an import. So you use this use directive to bring in variables from elsewhere, which you can then use. So something like that would end up as being it would be like v dot such and such a variable. So I'm not going to do that right now because I've not done all the other changes, but that's another set of things that I'm going to have to do across those pages. Once all that's done with the actual files, I'm then going to have to move across to the Gulp file. I've got all these PostCSS related things that I'm building, PostCSS related packages that I'm bringing in. And this is my function at the minute for processing my CSS and spitting it out into my destination folder. And I have to rejig that to use whatever Gulp Dart. Let's see. I think this is the package that I intend to use. So I'm going to go through this and wire it up so that that's using Dart Sass. Okay, so that's the plan. First job is renaming the files. So the first thing I'm going to do is just use Hookshot for a moment to just let that take over the full screen. If you're not familiar with Hookshot, there's a separate video up there that you can go and have a watch of that video. I'm going to use a tool called ZMV to rename those files in one go. And the good thing about ZMV is it has this -n flag, so as you're doing this, to make sure you don't mess anything up, you can run that with the flag, and that's going to rename those files. You can see here search.css to search SCSS and so on and so forth. So that looks okay to me, so I'm going to take off the flag now, and you should see over there in the sidebar those files will get renamed. So there we go, that's that bit taken care of. Our next little job is just rewriting this mixin to match the Sass way of doing things. So again, I'm just going to use Hookshot here a second, and let's take a look at, there we go, Mixins. So we can see here this format is very, very similar to what we've got here. I think it's just a case of me, literally, I think that will do it. That was nice and easy. I've just realised that the importing of style sheets is going to be a bit more laborious, simply because in Sass you don't have the ability to do glob imports. You can see here the way I've written these style sheets with PostCSS. I was able to just import Mixins variables and the body file there, and then everything else I was just importing as a glob statement there, which you cannot do with Sass. What I'm going to have to do is just, I mean, these ones are going to be easy to fix. So we can do a little trick there in Sublime, and we're going to change that to use, which is the syntax in Sass to be called style sheets modules in Sass now. So use is the directive that you use. You can see here and describes it in their docs. The use rule loads mixins, functions, and variables from other Sass style sheets and combines CSS for multiple style sheets together, which is what we're doing here. What I will have to do with this one's no use. I'm going to have to do all these by hand, so I'll just speed this up as a little bit as I write these out. Okay, so that's that little bit done. What I'm now going to do is go through each of these files and just check. Well, actually what I'll do is I think I'll just import the variables across all of them anyway. So I think this is the file that I need, and then anywhere where I've got a variable defined, I need to just change it like that. So the way these modules work in Sass is that you can do a use like that. If I didn't want to use it as V, that sort of shorthand, then it takes on the last name of the file name. So as I understand it, you would do like that ordinarily, which is just a bit laborious, if you like. And so you can do that as such and such, so that you're redefining that thing as V in this instance. So I can just do a quick search now for anything of that. In fact, I'll just do a replace there. Okay, so we're going to find these now. So we're going to replace that one, replace, that's it, okay. So again, this is going to be quite slow, boring. I'm just going to speed through this bit, and I'll see you on the other side of this. Okay, another little job done there. Last on the list of things to do with our actual style sheets is to rewrite any of these colour functions, which I know I've used in various places throughout this code base. So again, I'm going to use Sublime here, and I'm just going to do a search for colour, open brackets. That might do it actually. So I'm just looking in here, I'm negating the node modules, and I'm looking for anything SCSS. So let's see what we get here. Not too many then, thankfully. That's not bad at all. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here now. Let's just get rid of that. Let's have a look at the rules for colours. So I think what I can do here, let's just shut this down a minute, is I think I can amend this easily to use colour.adjust here instead. So I might have this wrong, and I'll find out when I first try and compile it, but I think it's just colour adjust, the name of the colour, and then instead of this A and the value in brackets there, I think what I need is alpha. Let's just have a look at some of these examples. Oh yeah, let's see then. So it looks like you can just do alpha, that needs a $, alpha, colon there, and then minus 0.5. Don't really know why you'd have to minus it and not just set it. Alright, we'll see what that does. In fact, I think what I might do is leave these colour adjustments because I'm not 100% sure I'm doing it right here. I'm going to stop this section, go to the Gulpfile now, get Sass set up so that it's compiling, and then I'm pretty sure Sass is going to spit up a load of errors at me when it finds out that this doesn't work. Right, I don't really have a good plan for how to go about converting this, so I'm just going to rip out the PostCSS stuff and stick in the Sass stuff. So I've got a bunch of, might leave the main PostCSS in case I want to use auto prefixer down the line, but all these things here, they are all to do with PostCSS. Yeah, all that. So CSS run, gulp. Oh, we need this bit in, don't we? Definitely gonna need that. So I'm just trying to cobble together what it's telling me here. Return. Okay, so that's going to be styles.scss. Want that bit in. Stick that there. If we're going to pipe Sass on error, do a Sass error. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Then when I do PostCSS processes, so it's going to go through auto prefix and then CSS nano. That's going to search for SCSS files. You know what, I better just change this, hadn't I? Just so I don't get confused. SCSS, blah, 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 blah. And I'll call it watch SCSS as well. I think I'll just do this like it describes it in the function here. I'm not sure it would really make a difference, but I'll just pipe it through Sourcemaps instead. And I'm going to do my writing of Sourcemaps there after. I'm hoping auto prefixer will take into account the Sourcemaps and everything will be in the right place. I think we'll give it a whirl at that point. Let's see how bad it blows up. Okay, to bring up the terminal, we're going to need to do an npm install okay, that's about what I expected. Can I find module called Dart? Oh yeah, I don't think I've, let's just check. Yeah, so obviously I've not installed it because I've not installed it. So let's get rid of all these things I don't need now. All those can go. The rest can stay, and I'll just do it there. That way. Okay, we got Dart Sass there. Cool, right, let's try that again. Okay, different error. Sourcemaps is not defined. Okay, let's just, we'll come back to Sourcemaps in a minute. Just turn those off. Oh, that looked pretty promising. Use required mixins. Okay, so we're getting some Sass errors now, so I can go and investigate that a little bit. So let's go to our main styles, and I'm trying to find required mixins. I've got a wrong file extension on there, which you probably saw before I did. Apologies for my stupidity. Right, let's try that. Right, now we're getting somewhere. So, undefined variable in body. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, use block quote, can't find in. Didn't think I need the file extension there. Oh my god. Just realised I've spelled it wrong. That's what's going on. Helps if you spell it right, doesn't it? Alright, good. So, if you remember, this was where I wasn't sure about the right way to write these things. Right, I think I need to import maybe colour. Let's go over to good old CSS tricks. Let's, Miriam, she's Sass core team, so she'll be able to tell us. Now look, this is what we need. So up here, looks like we need to import the Sass colour module. So I'm guessing we could do something like this. Maybe that's enough. Looks like it. It's past that one, so we're now into something else. Okay, so border bottom, index. In fact, we can just nick that out of there, can't we? Because this is what we're going to need. We're going to need this up here. So, like, these seem like a bit of a faff at first, but I suppose it's good because it's making you be explicit about what you want to do. So, although it seems a bit of a pain at the minute, I think this is probably a good thing for my style sheets overall. Here we go. So this thing is going to be color dot adjust alpha. Well, let's just do it like they want it actually. So it'll be 0.8 if we're doing it as values out of 1. Presumably that comes out. Need a comma there. Color dot adjust. That's the same thing. So that bit I can steal, can't I? Right, let's see what that does. Index undefined variable. Call it invert dsat. Oh yeah, we've not put our little marker in here to say. Okay, where are we into now? Index 61. So there again, not popped it there. This looks like something else I've failed to import to spell correctly, so let's go and have another look. Support, yeah, we don't want that anymore. Delete that style sheet, was nonsense, so we don't need that. Let's see now. Is that it? Is that it? All done. Let's have a look. I'm going to just stop this again. Stop it and just restart it to be. So let's just do a Control L, clear that off, start Gulp again. That's looking pretty good. No errors. Let's just make sure we have something vaguely resembling a decent style sheet here. This is looking okay. Alright, that is it. Well, that wasn't too bad. I thought it was going to take longer than that. Oh, one thing I do want to just check is whether this has got any prefixes in it still. WebKit, font smoothing, appearance. Cool, so the auto prefixes stuff's still working as well, which is handy. Yeah, in terms of what auto prefix is actually sticking in there, what it's auto prefixing to, I need to check because I've probably not changed that for like 5 years or something. But at least those values are going in there, so you see here there's a bunch of WebKit prefixes in there, which I know I didn't put in, so that's good. Right, I just thought one thing I do want to get working again is the old Sourcemaps, so I'm just going to fire up Gulp again. In fact, I don't want that on yet, do I? Turn that off. I want to initialize them up here. I can only assume I didn't have to have this writing before when I was using PostCSS, so I don't know if it's somehow new about Sourcemaps as part of that. So according to the docs here for the Dart Sass, you actually need to specify it separately. So I'm going to stick that in up here. I need to add that to my package.json. Oh, I've got it there. I just wasn't importing it. What an idiot. Right, that's good. So back to where's my goddamn Gulpfile gone? So source maps, I'm defining it up there. I can toggle it back on there. So I've got a good feeling this might just work. Gulp. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to spin up my local site here. What am I on here? 3000. There we go. Okay, so let's have a quick look. Looking good. Not. Yes, there we go. That's good. So that all is just working now. Fantastic. So that was pretty easy. Page home. Let's go to another. Something like that I know is in a different style sheet. Index. Yep, that's good. So that was actually easier than I thought it would be as well. I already had Gulp source maps in the package.json. I just hadn't wired it up again in my Gulp file. So that was as easy as saying use it here. So we're saying initialize the source maps, do all that stuff, and then write my source map out there. Cool. That is that. In fact, not so fast, Batman. I was just about to pack this up and thought I'd just double check the file size to make sure everything was okay, and noticed that since I put source maps on, obviously the file size has gone nuts up to 222k, and then I came to check in here and it says that by default it's writing the source maps in line. So obviously I need to fix that. I want them writing out to a separate file so I don't have to upload the source maps along with it. So there's a bit in the docs here about how you can switch that off. So I'm just going to copy that bit out. I'm going to try it the same basically. You probably just need to stop that and start it again. Cool, there we go. So that has given us the main style sheet there, and then the source map is in there, which you probably get a one-liner in there, and the let's just check. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Right, that's tiggity boo. Happy with that. Right, I think we're done. Actually done. So that's converting a code base, WordPress CSS code base over from PostCSS to Sass. I hope that was useful. I know there was a few bumps along the road that I certainly hadn't seen, so I hope it was illustrative for you to see those too. Please, if the video was useful, give it a like, subscribe. I'd love to have you on board. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark before the end of the year. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.